Testing. All right, let's hope we're good here. I do not have the chat up yet. Firing everything up. Looks like we got 2 live streams, so that's always a start. Like 2 live streams means that nothing has gone horribly wrong yet, which my book is excellent. Crank up the lights here a little bit. That looks good. Well, oh yeah, that's the. I'll get rid of that. That should make the lights look a little better. Rid of this massive jug too. All right. 1 minute. Appreciate you guys all for being here. We got some exciting stuff to go over. We got jobs report coming in. A little debate action, which is, oh man, I don't know if this guy knows what he got himself into. Still can't see the chat. We'll be there in 2 seconds. Have a little app I have to pull up to combine the shorts feed and the horizontal feed. So you are getting here now. There is a vertical feed and a horizontal feed. You can pick whichever one you want. They're both on YouTube. Anyone from X, appreciate you being here. And we will be up and running in a short minute here. Okay, there we go. Here's the chat. Roger, good to see you. I sound good, good. You dyed your beard? No, I got it cut. So I think it just looks a little different. Yeah, I got it trimmed. Yo, hit that like button. Yes, sir. What up, what up? Yeah, we got some good stuff to go over today. Jobs number coming in. Those will hit. And I think I'm mostly done on the setup side. Can someone confirm if I'm live on X right now? Super helpful if someone could do that quick. Monetization, balance. I think we did it. Nice. All right. Close this, and we got to get the other chat open, and then we're good. Keith, good to see you. Good morning, good morning. No, I did not dye my beard. I don't think I've ever dyed. My hair has never been dyed at any point, so there's certainly no beard dyeing. Looks like we're connecting to live streams. All right, let's go. Good morning. Smash the like button. Yeah, we're gonna hit the jobs numbers, so those are gonna hit in I think 20 minutes now. Let me get a time on that. So probably less than 20. I'm guessing 8:30. Those jobs numbers hit. We got a really interesting video too. We got a debate between Matt Hamilton and a Bitcoin maxi, and I just tuned in real quick. X is good. All right, Roger, appreciate you. Roger, you're a legend, man. We appreciate you so much. Good morning from Australia. Good to see you. I hope everyone's doing well today. XRP price chart looks like it's at a pretty decent spot right now, finding support exactly where we needed it, despite the bad news that happened the other day. Things look good. That's it. No. It's perfectly fine, Keith. It's perfectly fine. No, my dad was like a full-on, like full red hair, like full ginger. So that translated in the beard for me, but it's coffee, not wine, people. It's funny, though. It's funny. I love that everyone I get on a meeting, too, because I'll get on a call with clients. They're like, are you drinking a Jack and Coke right now? I'm like, no, it's 8 a.m. I guess happy Friday. Maybe I'll just start leading into it. But at this point, what's nice is I could break out a Jack and Coke now, and everyone would be having my back. They'd be like, no, it's coffee. So now I really have everyone on their toes. No one's going to know what's happening now. I could break out a glass of wine and people will say it's coffee. Guys, if you're getting here early, make sure to smash that like button. Appreciate you all for being here. Happy Friday. What a week, huh? What a week. I guess we don't have to go into the weekend stressed about what October 7th will do. So the truth is he died. Oh, that, Keith, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so the truth is I dye my hair, not my beard. That's good. That's really good. What is the total amount of RLUSD? So I'm not sure, MK XRP, if this is the minting for XRP right now is like real or it's just tests. I don't know if there's real value behind it. So I'm just I'm holding off on too many comments on that. I got to do a bit more research on exactly what's happening. If it's just test money, if it's fake money, if it's real money, if it's testing fake money, if it's testing real money, I don't know yet. We're definitely going to cover this interview of Matt Hamilton and Da Vinci. We're going to watch it live together. We want to hit the job numbers at 8:30, so we'll let those job numbers roll in. We'll cover that. That should define where the market goes today. We'll watch and see if there's any reaction. This is interesting. I'm not sure if people saw this. This should be fascinating. Did anyone see this? It's a documentary coming out where they claim they know the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto. I mean, if this gets released, then Bitcoin's no different than any other cryptocurrency out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how people react to that. Oh yeah, Paul Barron did say we're going to get ETF news today. That seems weird to me. I don't know. Like, not to doubt Paul Barron. I don't even know if that's actually Paul Barron or that's like an assistant. It seems weird to me. I don't know. Unless he has some like inside knowledge here. I'm not sure how we're dropping bombs on a future XRP ETF announcement. Like, I'm hesitant to believe it, but if it's true, trust me, I'm more than happy to hear it. Oh, he's definitely not a hype influencer. I got you, Taylor. I got you. Well, like, how would he know? I mean, maybe he has someone on the inside like queuing him in. I appreciate that. If he comes here and queues me in, then I'm gonna look like a real jack for doubting him. I don't doubt him. It's just like, you hear a lot of things in this space, and I hear things all the time. People are like, "Oh, this," and I don't know. Makes me feel a lot better that it's coming from Paul Barron. Taylor, I agree. Taylor said, have a feeling they are hyping the doc on Satoshi. It will end with multiple answers. Well, here's the thing. Someone knows who Satoshi is. Like, there's no way the U.S. government doesn't know who Satoshi is. So someone knows who Satoshi is. Looks like we're going to have an XRP market report to go over too from XP Market. So I'll queue that up. We'll make sure we get to that. When XP Market drops into the chat, we'll cover the market report. So we have that to go over. We have the interview or the debate between Da Vinci and Matt Hamilton. If we have time to get into that, man, there's going to be a lot of stuff to cover here. Mikkel, any ways to combine the chats? I can see both chats, MK. So unfortunately, there's no way for me to combine the chats for you guys, but I can see both chats. Unfortunately, there's no way on, like, that's YouTube for you. I'm streaming twice on YouTube, and YouTube won't combine the chats because it's insane. It's insane what Google can't do. Like, for all the money and resources Google has, like, these simplest things they do not do. Like, here's a funny one. Like, obviously I have the shorts that roll out on my channel. And one of the things you can't do on shorts is you can't upload a thumbnail. Like, it says this option's not available yet. But how long could it possibly take for someone to make a thumbnail available for a short? Got here late. What did I miss from Paul Barron? Paul Barron jumped in the stream the other day and said that he thinks there's going to be an ETF announcement today. So I don't know. Like, I hope he's right. Like, if there's an ETF announcement today for XRP, did the appeal change anything? I don't know. I have no idea. That was before the appeal even happened. Oh, Key said you guys can do a split screen. My mic sounds weird. That is no bueno. Oh, I know why. Sorry. Um, testing, test, test. Sounds like I'm an alien. Oh man. Yes. Hold up. I'll fix this. Hello, hello. What? Hello. Does that? Is it fixed or no? I sound fine. Let me know. Okay, that's better. Okay. Okay, cool. I wish I know what I did. I did about 3 things. One of them fixed it, and I'm sure it broke something else. That's that's YouTube live streaming for you. You fix one thing and there's okay. As long as the echo is gone. Okay. Perfect. All right. Drop a like for on the spot fix. Didn't think we were gonna get it that good. Didn't think we were gonna get it that quickly. Huh. Cool. I can promise you guys that I did 3 things and it looks like one of the things helped. All right, let's get back into it. Jobs numbers should be dropping any minute. 2 minutes. Audio much better. You sound... Sometimes you need to reload the chat. It might have been on my side. I did notice I had 2 volume bars going, so it looks like it's very confusing. Like I have 2. At some point, I wish I could take this camera and show you guys what I'm looking at. The amount of crap on my desk, like right here, controlling all of this is wild. So. Collab with Zach, right? Oh, I would love to collab with Zach. Me and Zach talk about that all the time. Here's the problem, like me and Zach are just both so busy. It's like it gets to the point, it's like we want to do something, and then it's like so Zach has his family, so Zach needs things scheduled like pretty far in advance, and I'm just not good at scheduling in advance. So you should tell Zach to like get on it and get me on his show, and I would love to. Like the couple times I tried to, I think I did do something with Zach, right? I think the one time I had done something with Zach, I literally got banned from YouTube on that live stream. Not keen on Zach. No, Zach's a good guy. I know some people might not like certain predictions he made before in the past, but like, we've all been there. I've been wrong. I was wrong about the case, so. I do like Zach. Oh, September jobs report imminent. Here we go.
I'll let Rick go because...
Rick, do you want to, what's going to be the most important things in your view? Maybe things that could be surprising, right?
Well, I think we're going to be higher than expected. So I think, I'm looking for the over on jobs, and I think the actual unemployment rate If it moves higher, that'll be a big deal. If it stays the same or moves lower. But I think that the actual jobs number is going to come in better than expected. That's what I would think would be the surprise today. But this number is truly, we say it almost every month, and maybe it's true every month, but this particular jobs number, and I'd like to see if Steve agrees, is really going to have an outsized potential effect on the marketplace and investors' psyches, because we've seen the Fed now flip their lens to the labor market. Here, 2 seconds away, and as we come, hitting the wires on the September jobs report, the over wins 254,000, significantly better than 150 expected, and an upward revision to last month from 142,000 to 159,000, which means the 2-month revision now is a little over 70,000. If we look at the unemployment rate, it is at 4.1. 4.1, it moved lower. I can hear yields moving higher as we speak. And 4.1, of course, equals where we were in June. You have to go to May to get a lower number at 4%.
Yo, the market's
average
ripping.
hourly earnings month over month, better than expected, up 0.4%, which equals where we have been in May. You have to go back to the beginning of the year, January,
Yields
when we were
up and
up
market
half
up. That
of
makes no
1%.
sense.
Now, if we look at average hourly earnings on a year-over-year basis, this number also much better than expected. 4%, 4%. That equals where we were in May. You have to go to March to find a higher number at 4.1. The work week, 34.2, which makes it actually a 10th less than expected and a 10th less than the rear view mirror. To find a lower work week, you have to go back a long way. You're going to have to go all the way back to 34.3, which is going to be in February of this year. And finally, the utilization, the labor force participation rate, 62.7. It's been holding there. Not a bad number. 62.7 is actually the best number of the year that we've seen on multiple occasions. You have to go to November last year to find a higher number at 62.8. And finally, the underemployment rate. The actual employment rate of 4.1 is called U3. U6 is the underemployment rate, and that has been moving higher. It was at 7.9 our last look, which was the highest since October of 21, and it came down 0.2 to 7.7, which would equate it to the lowest level since June of this year. So yields have shot up. We're at now 394, 395 in a 10-year. We see 385 in a 2-year. These are big, smart reversals. Today now marks the 3rd consecutive session that Treasury yields have climbed over the previous day's high yield, or if you want to look at it in terms of low prices, which means we're building momentum to higher yields. And that's important considering we settled the 10-year last week, get this, at 375. So we've seen some significant moves. And on the short end, we settled a 2-year last week at 356. So it's up 30 basis points from last week. And of course, the Fed last move was a 50 basis point ease. The market seems to be going the other way. Joe, back to you in the panel.
It really does. Thanks, Rick. Let's get to our jobs panel. I want to start with Steve Leisman, and so much for the Fed having numbers in advance that they know we're going to be weak. But also, Steve, is the whole asymmetric risk now in the labor market versus inflation?
Yes, that's where we're at.
But does that make sense? I mean, don't you think?
I don't think so. Let me explain why. First of all, do you hear me muttering when I say?
Oh, I hear you muttering a lot.
I say, Rick, tell me about labor supply. Boom, he gives me the labor capacity. Rick, tell me about. He's so good. Anyway, I just want to spend a moment to compliment him. So here's the deal. The jobs gains were where we see. This looks a lot like a pandemic era report. 78,000 on leisure and hospitality, 71,000 healthcare and social assistance. That, in my book, is like 150,000, or the biggest part of it. Construction also up 25. Specialty trade contractors, that was the big deal right there. And that may have to do with the government programs for infrastructure. I don't know about you guys, but when I drive around here, all I see is construction all over the New York City area here. Yep. So that's part of it. There's the story for the Fed here is, if you have the labor supply to meet the labor demand, that is not inflationary. Now, you did have a pop in wages. We'll see how long that lasts. The story is one of looking at inflation, and to use a word that I think the Fed chair has used, recalibrating the funds rate to where the inflation rate is. And that's why rates should still continue to come down, but as Rick pointed out, not in 50 basis point increments.
Can I just ask, we're looking at this without even knowing any of the impact from Hurricane Helene. We just had someone on set with us talking about this destruction being the broadest, widest they've seen. Someone who's actually doing the reconstruction there, the demand that this is going to require over 600 miles plus of area in the United States. I
think it's bigger than. I think we're talking about the Panhandle when he's 600 miles in Florida, right?
I think he was talking
the swath in the middle of the country is even bigger
like
and worse.
A straight line, 600.
Oh, right, okay.
Before you get out, and how wide and how broad it is. But when you say it's okay if labor supply meets labor demand, how can that be possible with the destruction that we're talking about?
I don't think. Look, I think it's going to cost a lot of money. I'll back up. There's a decline in economic output as a result. That could be an offset to the increase that's generally. I'll say one quick word about this. I know we went to the panel. I spent 22 years at CNBC telling our bosses that even though the video is great, these big natural disasters don't amount to much when it comes to the macroeconomy. That's usually been right. And it's usually right because these big storms, they hit cities, and cities have the infrastructure to fix them. I don't know the economic impact of what just happened with Helene in these outlying areas over such a vast swath that could both depopulate certain areas and require massive amounts of infrastructure. So I'm going to take a pass on your question, Becky, and tell you you're right to question it, but I do not know the total net on Helene because there's a decline in output and there's an increase in the need to spend a lot of money to fix it. So I'll leave it there.
All right, let's get to our panel. I'll start with, I see your name up here on my teleprompter, Wendy, so let's go for it. What do you make of this? Pretty good report.
I love how he didn't even know her name. He's like, go for it. Interesting. So the interesting thing there is the market was going up, but yields were also going up, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Overall, it looks like the market did like it. I mean, it's better to not have the market falling apart. The predicament here is like, will the Fed continue to cut rates? But if there's no inflation, there's no reason they wouldn't continue to cut rates. So in my eyes, it was a very good report, and it's just one of those things. We continue to get good data. I see a lot of people saying, oh, the data's fake, the data's fake. Like, it doesn't matter if the data is fake because the Fed controls the market and the Fed is the one producing the data. So look, you can go and play a game of Monopoly, or you can go play a game of poker and you say, these are BS rules, but you're going to lose the game of poker. So that's what I always try to explain to people. Look, you can have whatever opinion you want on whether the numbers are good, fake, real, not fake. But look, if you want to play the game, you've got to follow the rules. And the rules of the game here are that the Fed makes the numbers. So I agree with people that the numbers are probably very manipulated, but I just want people to realize that, like, that's the game. Whether you like it or not, that's the game. So little members only, guys. If you do want to become a member, you do want to participate in the chat, you can go down to the description, become a member. I like to do at least a couple of the member only live streams every week. That way I can make sure I get to all the member questions. Really appreciate everyone for being here. Also, make sure to drop that like on the stream. Super, super helpful. And if you're lucky, you might just catch a gifted membership. Those things are constantly flying around. If you're over on X, make sure to drop a retweet. Really appreciate all those retweets coming in. YouTube, exit out of the live chat, drop that like. Let's see if we can get over 1,000 viewers on the stream. You guys are the best. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Exactly, Roger. It's not more complicated than that. I want to jump into this this debate for a bit and see if we get anything interesting here. In the background, I'll monitor the market and see if there's anything significant happening. That was the big thing we were waiting for, those job numbers. And like, they came in good. The market is going to have, I think, a hard time figuring out how to react to this, but I think the right decision is up. Like, I think the right decision is up. And MKXRP, what's a gifted membership? A gifted membership is when someone actually will buy a membership for someone else. So Chadwick does it all the time. I'm not sure if he's here, but Chadwick always comes in and he always gifts a membership. And that means that someone else catches that membership. Tracy, always good to see you. Always good to see you. All right, let's get into this. Let's get into this debate a bit and see how this goes. Because guys, look, I almost
what would be
started
better,
chuckling
right?
to myself when I saw that.
You know, I used to like it back in the old days,
on.
Joe, where, you know, people...
I chuckled to myself when I saw that Da Vinci was going to be debating Matt Hamilton, because that is a tough ask, man. I would lose to Matt Hamilton.
especially after meetings and numbers. But to specifically answer your question, I understand that we've made huge progress from 9.1% on inflation. I get it. But really, the issue isn't about inflation in the last mile. The issue is there going to be any type of resurgence in inflation that's going to make the target more towards from where it is, not from the Fed standpoint, 3%. And I think, you know, whether you look at the strike that was averted, 61.5%. Listen, there's not the type of wage inflation spiral, wage cost spiral that I saw, you know, 35, 40 years ago. But there definitely does seem to be under the surface that dynamic. I think the Fed's going to have an inflation problem. Not that it's going to be huge, but that it's going to bounce around and it's going to have some life. And I think they need to focus on that. In terms of the labor market, listen, I've been wrong. Some of the spreads, some of the signals in the market that called for more recessionary times. But this report is strong, and I don't see any way around that.
The economy's a disaster, right, Joe?
No, I'm not.
I'm just quoting somebody, that's all.
Oh, no, but here's my question, though, Steve. If we're not restrictive based on, like, if you are looking at inflation that what Rick was just talking about, then why would you cut again?
You can be in the wrong place, Joe. That's the working
but is
theory.
It restrictive?
It doesn't mean you're restricted. If you are hiring the number of people who are available to hire, and you are meeting the demand of hiring is not a welfare
Could it be
program.
there's no more cuts? That's what I'm asking.
I don't think so. I think the Fed wants to bring it down towards a level that is neutral. And
But
the
we might
feeling
be
is
neutral
that,
now. If inflation,
why do you say that?
Because inflation might resurge.
But why do you say that?
Because it just, I mean, you heard all the details Rick just talked about. Whether
if you did 250 and you had workers for 250 and you had demand for 250 and output for 250,
inflationary forces that we're seeing.
What inflationary forces?
The labor, you know, I mean, I know it was
Just because you hire people is not inflationary.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the port strike, the
Port strike's done.
What if there's an oil shock? What if there's, there just seems to be, workers seem to be.
So this is actually a really interesting debate. I want to cut over the interview though, but it's the point I've been making. It's like inflation is going away and we're still getting strong job numbers. So what they're pushing back and forth there on is one of the guys is saying, oh, well, if we're getting strong job numbers, there has to be inflation coming back, but there doesn't necessarily have to be. And if the Federal Reserve is going to cut rates, if the Federal Reserve is going to cut rates irrespectively because they think rates should be lower because inflation's going away, then it's very likely, in my opinion, that we're just going to be in a position where rates are back to being low and we're going to have a very strong economy. I know it might not feel like a strong economy to people out there, but the truth is, it's like when it comes to what the government is reporting, I mean, the numbers are great. Let's take a look at this Bitcoin debate. I think this is going to be very, very interesting.
Slavery, because they're able to create money for free. Bitcoin was created. We got a system of money and wealth that ensured that the banking system was not going to enslave us anymore, because that's what the banking system is, a means of slavery, because they're able to create money for free.
Introducing IronBeam, the best choice for futures trading. IronBeam is the industry
for organizing this today, and I think it's an important discussion and a good one to have here. So we're here to explore the evolving landscape of cryptocurrencies and focusing on XRP, the XRP Ledger, and Bitcoin. I'm going to be advocating for XRP and the XRP Ledger. and kind of highlighting its potential to revolutionize financial transactions, the financial industry, and address some of the key challenges faced by Bitcoin. Now, as we know, Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency developed, and the vision set out in Satoshi Nakamoto's paper is a very compelling one, right? And it looks at creating a more sovereign, decentralized financial system and currency, right? XRP was the second cryptocurrency developed. It was developed after Bitcoin, created by Bitcoin developers themselves to solve some of the issues they found with Bitcoin with regards to scalability, energy usage, and features that Bitcoin didn't support, like decentralized exchanges, tokenization, real world assets, that sort of thing, right? So XRP and the XRP ledger offers faster transaction times and a higher scalability. Unlike Bitcoin, it's not inflationary, it's deflationary, and has a fixed supply, right? So it takes a lot of the original concepts of the Bitcoin white paper and actually implements them in a far more pragmatic and realistic way. So that's the kind of the use case for XRP to be similarly a sovereign decentralized mechanism for payments, similar to Bitcoin, in a way that can be operated outside of banks and the banking system, in a way that can't be censored, or transactions can't be seized, for example, on Bitcoin. So it shares a lot of the same qualities as Bitcoin.
Amazing to have you both on the channel. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to have you here and sharing your knowledge with all of us. Really appreciate. And guys, if you'd like to see more of this content, remember to smash the
decentralized, permissionless.
XRP.
Okay, so XRP is a decentralized, permissionless digital asset, kind of similar to Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies that have come after it, like Ethereum, Solana, etc. So XRP, the original intention of XRP was to allow peer-to-peer transactions in a decentralized, permissionless, censorship-resistant manner, right? So it shares a lot of the same initial goals as Bitcoin and as of the Bitcoin white paper. If you actually read the Bitcoin white paper today, you can see a lot of the same concepts apply to XRP, right? There's a company called Ripple that was then formed, much like companies like Blockstream, for example, in the Bitcoin world, to develop technology based on the XRP ledger. They employed some of the initial creators of the XRP ledger, much like Blockstream employed some of the original creators of Bitcoin. And that company, Ripple, is working to implement XRP and connect it up with the existing financial system to now allow financial companies to take usage of some of or take advantage of some of these functionalities that are available in a, like I said, decentralized, permissionless global blockchain.
See, the problem for Da Vinci is Matt knows more about Bitcoin than him, and then Matt also knows about XRP. So it's like a professional MMA fighter fighting against like me, right? Like Da Vinci is like learning about Bitcoin. You can already tell. Look at his face. He's like, I didn't know that.
So that's the point of XRP.
There.
And it has also spawned a lot. The XRP ledger technology has also been used on some other networks. So things like Zahao, which is launched recently, is another network sort of built on the same technology. And XRP then went on to inspire a number of other blockchains as well.
market.
So a lot of the design, for example, of Ethereum was taken from XRP. XRP shares a lot of the same underlying technologies and ciphers as Bitcoin. So it uses, for example, the same block cipher. It uses the same signature algorithm as Bitcoin as well.
This one is for you, Da Vinci. What is Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin is a asset that you can use to store your wealth and know for a fact that there's no chance that the government will be able to point a gun at somebody and change the rules of the system. That is not the case with most cryptocurrencies. In fact, probably all the cryptocurrencies, except for the ones that are running with proof of work and has a sufficient amount of proof of work, can be changed. Because you could just, with XRP, point a gun at, I think it was like 35 validators and say, this is what's going to happen you're going to do it or you're going to die. So that's it. And it gets done. Now, we've seen this happen with Ethereum already. Ethereum, it didn't have a flaw in Ethereum itself. It was a flaw in a contract that was running on Ethereum that had the flaw. Yet the government went to Vitalik and said, yeah, dude, you're going to change the program and get everybody's money back. So that was implemented. Now, a major part of the code is that a transaction where somebody stole money, stole Ethereum, or stole some tokens, that's actually been undone in code. It's hard coded. Part of the Ethereum code is a specific transaction did not exist. That's not possible with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a permissionless system, just like most other cryptocurrencies out there. You can actually program for it and so forth, and you can transfer wealth around. But the key that would actually every single that you, for example, and that change was nothing done. It can get done. Bitcoin happening.
You can sell this $5 spatula on Amazon and compete with hundreds of other spatula sellers. Or
a couple of things. So you make the claim that somebody could put a gun to somebody or a few people's head within the XRP community and enforce a change there, right? In all blockchains are governed by effectively the majority, right? That's how blockchains' decentralized consensus mechanisms work. If you have the majority who want to make a change, then that change will happen. Now, that is irrespective pretty much of any consensus mechanism, right? We've seen it happen in Bitcoin previously. You say there's not been any hard forks in Bitcoin. Of course, there's been hard forks in Bitcoin. That is why there's Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, and a gazillion others that have fallen by the wayside, right? The only reason that Bitcoin, as you know it, as BTC, is the one that we are talking about now is because it is social consensus that we decide that that is the one that is what we know as Bitcoin, right? We could equally have said that actually Bitcoin Cash is what we're now going to call Bitcoin, right? There's no technical reason to stop that. It was a social consensus mechanism. And every cryptocurrency and every blockchain effectively comes down to social consensus. Now, the XRP ledger is more decentralized than Bitcoin in that regard, in the fact that there is a wider number of validators that you would actually need to get to support that change, right? With Bitcoin, the way that the hashing algorithm works and the way that the reality is that those that are large pools that are aggregating that hash power, and it is in most cases is the pool operator that directs the hash power. Yes, individual miners can leave that pool, but there's something like, it only takes 2 of those large pools or 3 of those large pools to control over 50% of the hash rate, right? And so you could go and put a gun to 3 of those heads, or you could go and, cause some other incentive for them to change. Now, remember, they're incentivized by money. That is the entire.
So that's a really good point by Matt there that I want to highlight real quick. Because Da Vinci said, oh, well, there's 35 validators on the XRP ledger. You would have to point a gun to 35 validators' heads and say, boom, change this right now. But what Matt Hamilton is saying is like, yeah, you have a lot of Bitcoin validators, but the way Bitcoin works is the biggest validators have the most power. So you can have millions of Bitcoin validators, but let's say 99% of those Bitcoin validators don't matter when one makes up most of the validation power. So it's a great point by Matt Hamilton, because in the XRP ledger, every validator has equal power, where in the Bitcoin network, you essentially have certain mining pools that control most of the power. So you would have to corrupt far less players in the Bitcoin system, even though there's less players in total. So, well, Bitcoin is more, I guess you could say Bitcoin is more Bitcoin is more decentralized in a way where there's like a lot of different parties. The XRP ledger is more distributed. So there's less parties, but the power is distributed more among each individual participant. This is a very important point, because one of the things we hear constantly is the XRP ledger centralized, the XRP ledger centralized. And you can tell Da Vinci was not ready for that point because he completely walked himself into the fact that it would actually be easier to corrupt a few parties on the Bitcoin network than it would to corrupt 35 parties on the XRP Ledger network. Now, you wouldn't actually have to corrupt 35 parties on the XRP Ledger network. You'd probably have to do more like half of that to get that 51%. Actually, I think it's more than 51% on the XRP Ledger network. So I'm sure XP Market could weigh in specifically on what that number would be. But you can tell there is a difference here that Da Vinci didn't account for. And I thought it was a great counterpoint by Matt here. Let's get back into it. And also, guys, make sure to smash the like button. Appreciate you guys all so much. Share the stream. Love to get more people in here. And this is a stream that's awesome for teaching people about XRP and a lot of those misconceptions that a lot of people have.
Operation by which Bitcoin works. Whereas with the XRP Ledger, validators on the XRP Ledger, and to be clear here, there's far many more nodes than there are just those straight validators, right? You can kind of think of those validators as a bit like some of the larger sort of Bitcoin pools, right? But each one of them only has one vote. So if you were to reach, you need to get 80% consensus, not 51% consensus like within Bitcoin.
There's the 80%.
So if you were trying to hit 80% consensus, then you would need to get 80% of those 35 validators to agree to something. And those 35 validators are only there because they are effectively nominated by the rest of the nodes on the network, right? If the rest of the nodes on the network deem that they are not of importance, then they are no longer of importance, right? They're not listened to. So in that regard, it's much harder to actually make coercive changes on something like the XRP Ledger than it would be on Bitcoin, because the incentives are just entirely different there. Validators are not paid to validate. So there isn't that financial leverage that you can use with Bitcoin miners in which you can say, okay, well, we're going to impact your business model here by impacting your miners. And also, another point, Bitcoin has had flaws in it. You know, there was the 184 billion Bitcoin that was created in 2010 due to the value overflow exploit, and Bitcoin was rolled back by Satoshi Nakamoto as well. So that's not a flaw that is just something from Ethereum. That has also happened with Bitcoin as well. And again, this comes down to social consensus. If the social consensus was that flaw was not important, then it would continue. If the social consensus was that the total cap of Bitcoin needs to be, instead of 21, 42 million or whatever, then that would be the will of the participants of the network if they so decided. It entirely comes down to social consensus. Bitcoin's no different to any other blockchain in that regard.
Da Vinci, is there anything you would like to rebate?
Yeah, I would like to point out that, yes, I do agree that Bitcoin did have the fork, and that is true. But there was one major fork that was supposed to be, even Satoshi mentioned, and that didn't occur. And at first I didn't understand why it didn't occur. It was that the block size increased. And then I understood that the forks had to be stopped, because if you allow for changes, then you will allow for a change that, okay, well, this transaction didn't happen. Those kind of major changes, right, that happened in Ethereum. Also, validators are easy to get after, because when you look at the world as it is today, there's many different media companies out there, but they all say the same thing, right? They all repeat the same thing. And you've seen that video out there where all of them repeat the same thing all over again, all across the whole nation of the United States and even in Canada. So this is possible, where it doesn't have to be a gun to the head kind of deal. Now, you said that the validators are not getting paid, but that's true. But there's so little of them, and the validators on Bitcoin are a lot more. There's like thousands of them, over 5,000 right now. I think probably even more than that, and so they're continue to grow. And the reason why that megabyte block size was not increased was specifically so that more validators, which don't get in the network. And so hardware systems such as like switches, like a switch is ossified with the TCP/IP. We want to ossify Bitcoin into all, if there's a can't, it's an objective of their cryptocurrency. Remember, coerce them not to have a lot of cash here. We'll to lead to cryptocurrency.
Every month, this Airbnb pays me in semi-passive income. Now, here's the thing. I don't own it.
About this from many different angles, right? I think cryptocurrencies are enabling a whole different means to do all sorts of things that were not necessarily possible before because of the trustless decentralized nature, right? Previously, if you wanted to take a payment, then you needed some sort of payment processor. You possibly needed to trust whoever was processing the payment, or you needed to physically be there, right? If you go back to, physical cash, metals, Raystones even, right? You had to physically be there in order to transact. And I think cryptocurrencies allow, much more interesting ways in which we can transact as a society, right? So Da Vinci's already mentioned about things like about sort of sovereignty and about preventing government takeover, which I think are very important topics as well. But I think it goes beyond just that. So if you look at stuff, so like XRP is aimed at payments, for example. So whereas Bitcoin is mainly looking at sort of store of value, XRP is mainly looking at payments. What happens when you can suddenly make a payment that costs, a thousandth or a millionth of a cent for a transaction, right? So we're having this conversation right now, and maybe you wanted to do something similar and you had a payment, and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this particular task and you pay me, right? Well, what if that payment could actually be streamed to you live? And this was experiments that were done on the XRP ledger with regards to projects like Coil and Interledger, in which literally, as you're on a web page, the transaction, the money is being streamed to you second by second as that is going on. So it suddenly starts to change the dynamic of things, right? Imagine if you are an Uber driver or something like that, and rather than being paid several weeks after the fact, you're literally being paid as you are driving. The money is hitting your account, you stop driving, the money stops, right? That opens up a whole new mechanism by which we can transact, right? So that's payments. Another area is all to do with decentralized governance, things like DAOs. So this is the area, especially within a lot of like the Ethereum ecosystem as well, and Arbitrum that I work with, currently at the moment. They are looking at ways in which we can have decentralized governance as a society, and we can have new models rather than forming, say, a limited company and a board of directors. You have something like a smart contract and a DAO in which people can have more direct representation and vote on topics that are happening, right? So I think there's a lot of really interesting reasons why cryptocurrencies are necessary, not just for mechanisms such as store of value, but I think going way beyond that, talking about payments, talking about things like decentralized governments, even Jeremy's cat NFT and art, for example, and memes all play a part of society, right? So I think that's there's a lot of interesting reasons for cryptocurrencies.
Da Vinci, would you like to rebate Matt?
Yes, I agree with everything he has to say there. I can't disagree with that. However, one point I have to disagree with is the point that the basis of a cryptocurrency is to prevent government from, as much as you can, at least, not right. Bitcoin's not on a perfect scale of, like, for example, physics, right? The governments can't control physics, right? So the laws of physics. So if we were able to vote the government into allow them to have the laws of physics, to control the laws of physics, the universe would fall apart. We know that because, right, we asked them to solve poverty, and now poverty has won. We asked them to, make houses affordable, and houses are now more unaffordable. We asked them to make, healthcare cheaper, and healthcare is more expensive. So if you allow them to take over money, well, you know what happens, right? We become enslaved, right? So this is the core principle, right, of good money, is that we all have to fight for it to ensure that they have freedom in many, right? You're not going to die, probably, right? Somebody will probably care for you and say, okay, I'm going to take care of you a little bit, but that costs money because it innovate our money on which else I'd
say I totally agree with
store our wealth without it being stolen.
I'd just like to come back and say I totally agree with Da Vinci on those points. I think that is a really good reason for cryptocurrencies, and deflationary cryptocurrencies like XRP that have a finite supply that can't be inflated specifically, meet that requirement. One of the biggest issues with Bitcoin is its scalability. It's whatever it is, 7 transactions or 10 transactions a second, whatever it can do. Then every person in the world is going to be, if they wanted to use Bitcoin, they could make 2 transactions in their entire lifetime, and that would be the capacity used up. So the only way in which...
That was a good point. That was a good point. That was a... Look at Da Vinci's face right here. That is the face of like, damn, like, I just got wrecked. Like, that was like, I just got wrecked. Because it's such a good point. It's such a good point. He is so over his head here, but he just got destroyed right there because it's so true. It's Bitcoin is 2 transactions over your lifetime is how unscalable Bitcoin is. And his entire argument there was like, and I know I'm skipping over Da Vinci. It's just because a lot of what he's saying, most people already know. It's pretty easy to go. He kind of says his main point and then trails on. So you can kind of see where Matt's counterpunching anyway. But it's such a good point on why XRP is so much more scalable. And when it comes to the other side of things of like, oh, like a store of value, it's like XRP is actually a better store of value because it's deflationary. So he's realizing that it's like, okay, well, not only is XRP sound money in being deflationary, well, Bitcoin sort of is deflationary, but not really. XRP is legitimately deflationary. But it's like, even if you wanted Bitcoin to be this new money, it can't be because it's so unscalable. It's literally impossible to scale it. And he just realized that the 2 main reasons why he said cryptocurrency is important, that he just realized that the 2 main reasons why he thinks cryptocurrency is important, XRP is actually better in those facets. So that's a tough one to come back from. I think that's why his face looks like the way it does. And I think Matt knows, I think Matt is seeing right here, like, this is going to be an easy debate. And I knew it was going to be an easy debate because I've debated Matt Hamilton before. He's impossible to debate. This dude's a genius. He's a genius. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's a freaking genius. Like, to be taking on Matt Hamilton as he's totally outclassed. And this was an excellent point. Murdoch, great to see you, brother. We love to have you here. You're incredible. Trump 2024. Let's go, Murdoch. Oh man, you wouldn't hear me saying that at anyone else, but Murdoch, a Mickle master for 6 months. We appreciate you so much, Murdoch. You're an OG here. I remember the first live streams we ever did, you were up there. So we love you, Murdoch, and I hope you're doing well. Let's continue on this debate because we're only a third of the way through, and Da Vinci's in a chokehold right now.
Which Bitcoin can actually kind of scale to be usable is to have additional things like layer 2 networks or custodial networks or whatever that, unfortunately, in making it more useful, remove a lot of the very key, interesting concepts that Bitcoin is known for, right? And that Bitcoin uses. So I totally agree. Bitcoin was revolutionary. It was great when it came out. It was fantastic. And I totally agree with what you're saying in terms of its goals. The problem being is that from a pragmatic point of view, it's just not usable in society with the number of people that want to be able to use it, right? The transaction fees are just too high, and they're going to get higher. As the mining subsidies disappear, then the fees are going to get higher and higher, and it's going to be your banks, your rich people, whatever, they're going to use it, because the everyday person is just simply not going to be able to afford to transact on Bitcoin. So they're going to have to use layer 2s that just, most of those remove the interesting aspects that make Bitcoin unique. And so you might as well use something instead that is far more pragmatic with this approach. And like I said, the XRP ledger was created by Bitcoin developers who understood this, right? That is why they created the XRP ledger, because they understood this. And one of the first use cases of Bitcoin, of the XRP ledger, was to tokenize Bitcoin, right? That's why it was the first blockchain to have a DEX, the first blockchain to support tokenization, because one of its early use cases was to tokenize Bitcoin and, transact Bitcoin in a far more efficient.
Wait, is it just me, or does it look like Da Vinci's about to cry? That is a crazy face to be making in the middle of the debate. You can't make that face. It was as soon as Matt Hamilton said XRP was created by Bitcoin devs to be a better Bitcoin. It's like, that might be unrecoverable. That right there might be, this is fantastic. This is fantastic. All the Bitcoin maxis are going to see this. And Da Vinci is just getting absolutely nuked right now. It's not even close. And to understand the core premise that all these core principles that Da Vinci held so tight to him, for him to start to realize here that all those core principles are represented on XRP, except XRP can actually scale to be useful in the future, it's something to witness. Let's put it that way.
Manner.
Okay, I'd like to respond to that.
I thought so. Go for it.
Say that the same arguments, right? That Bitcoin is too slow, and I can attest that that's not a problem. I can prove it to you, because we can build on top of it and provide a solution that will allow you to do fast transactions and continue to.
So he just didn't even comprehend what Matt said. Matt fully said, yeah, you could scale Bitcoin, but it's going to be scaled in a layer 2 way that's not decentralized. Da Vinci comes back and he goes, we could scale with layer 2. It's like, all right, man, you just didn't comprehend what the smart guy right here just said to you.
To expand it without breaking the bottom the layer, the Bitcoin layer. Now, an example of that, because we've done it before, is the TCP/IP. When I was first introduced to studying how networks work, everyone told me that TCP/IP would not be around. They would be using something else, the token ring or whatever. They had many different protocols that were being developed at the time, because they said, well, there's only going to be 4 billion IP addresses, and most of it is going to be not usable. And so there's a lot less of that. So it's not going to be an IP address for every single person on the planet. On top of that, you can't send video, you can't send audio across TCP/IP, and yet here we are. Right? So there it is, right? And yet it's the backbone of everything. Upgrade was at the upper single level because started issuance was coming into play, right? And we don't want to support the central banks anymore. Because you said promise can rule, but scale of ease, it's easier on.
Your competitors will wish they had known about Vibe. With Vibe, you can launch targeted TV and streaming ads.
I don't. Okay, there's a couple of points to come back on that. So one, I don't agree with your thought that it is easier to change on the XRP ledger, right? And the reason that goes back to what we talked about in incentives, right? If some state actor or large actor, whatever, comes up and says, hey, that's a nice mining farm you got there. It'd be a shame if something were to happen to it, right? There's a much more at stake there for Bitcoin miners to actually adhere to local rules and regulations, because if they don't, they can get shut down, forced out, moved. We've seen this with China. Those sort of things can happen, right? With the XRP ledger, that is not a problem, because the XRP ledger nodes are not, the validators are not incentivized in any way, and it's much easier to move them because they don't have to have an adjacent power station next to them to keep them going, right? So that is a lot easier. So I would say I dispute that point. I see what you're saying there, but I dispute that it is easier to change on the XRP ledger, because just like Bitcoin, you need social consensus, and that social consensus on Bitcoin is sort of run through the miner process, of which there's a lot of incentivization there for the miners to keep that going, whatever it is, to keep their money coming in. And their interests are not necessarily aligned with users. So Bitcoin miners want a high fee because they want more revenue. Users want a low fee because they want cheaper transactions. Those two things are not aligned. So if you question what a Bitcoin miner is doing with regards to the security of the network, I would suggest that they are probably doing more in their own interests than in the interests of the end users, because their incentives are directly opposite to each other, right? Now, the other thing, you made a really good point about networks, but I don't think you realized that it doesn't work the way you kind of portrayed it. So the network stack layer, you've got the OSI 7-layer model, and at the top you've got applications and stuff like that. You've got TCP and about whatever it is, layer 4, and you kind of come down. And the value proposition with Bitcoin is, well, we can build more layers on top. So we can build Lightning, we can build layer 2 networks, layer 3 networks. I'm working with a layer 2 network right now on Ethereum, right? And layer 3 networks, that's all fine. We can do that, right? But the big revolution with TCP and the internet and networks like that was that you could change the lower level, right? You could change the lower layers. Now, Bitcoin advocates say, well, you can't change Bitcoin. The lowest layer is fixed. But if you think about all of the evolution that's happened, TCP/IP has stayed the same. but it's all the lower layers that have been changed to increase capacity. So we're no longer using modems. We then went to fiber. We then went to ADSL. We've got things underneath. We've got like Wi-Fi. We've got Starlink. We've got a number of different mechanisms. All of the lower levels have changed, from the physical, from copper to fiber, from the protocols, from fixed to wireless networks, from the different Wi-Fi standards that have increased over time, Starlink, satellite. So the point with the networks is the reason they have been so successful is that you can change the lower layers and you don't impact the end users because they don't see that. Now, if we take that same analogy to Bitcoin, what we're saying is that you can continue to use Lightning or some other layer too, but we can swap out the lower layer, right? So that actually destroys the value proposition of Bitcoin. And what you're saying is that we can just swap it out. We could swap out the lower layer to something like the XRP Ledger or Solana or Ethereum or what else that hasn't even been invented yet, and change that. And to the end user, they're not going to notice because they're going to continue transacting the way they're transacting.
That's not what I was saying. I was saying that we can build the layers higher. But I understand your point where, for example, TCP/IP comes in here, and then underneath TCP/IP, right? We changed everything underneath. Is that what you're saying, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so with Bitcoin, you could use a layer 2 and change underneath. You could change Bitcoin, right?
I have to agree with that, right? We made things faster underneath, but the TCP/IP stayed the same. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so effectively, right, the same thing could happen for Bitcoin, right? Things underneath it can change, whilst Bitcoin stays the same. So that's the same. That's the argument I'm making. Not
what would be underneath Bitcoin that you would change?
Well, I mean, there are the faster drives for faster computer systems, right? Faster, right? Faster networks, right? Which will allow us to actually instantly send transactions. What happens if we have instant transaction settlement across all the network nodes, right? What happens if that happens? You know what I mean?
That can't be done by changing something underneath Bitcoin. That can only be done by changing.
That is what's underneath, is the actual physical layers, right? That's like,
you change those and Bitcoin stays the same. The Bitcoin algorithm specifically compensates.
Yes, the algorithm stays the same, just like TCP/IP does, right? But all of a sudden, because of a lot of equipment, the physical equipment, everything becomes faster. Bitcoin becomes faster. That's the same.
If you change all that underneath, Bitcoin still does 7 transactions a second and still a block every 10 minutes. In order to change those, you've got to change the parameters of Bitcoin itself, not the underlying. If I suddenly get a miner that can mine 10 times as many blocks a second, that doesn't change the speed of Bitcoin. We've seen that already, right? Bitcoin miners are now faster than they ever were, and that doesn't change, right? Bitcoin is designed to keep the block time constant, and hence the number of transactions per second constant. The only way of changing those is by changing the actual parameters of Bitcoin itself. You can't do that by changing an underlying layer. We've seen that over time. Otherwise, Bitcoin would now be 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times faster than it was, because we've got ASICs running instead of, my desktop CPU running as it was, back in the day when I used to mine, right? Changing the underlying hardware doesn't change the speed or capabilities of Bitcoin.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans may qualify for help from National Debt Relief. Minimum payments could literally...
That was brutal. Brutal. That was absolutely brutal. He went on this entire tangent and had no idea what he was talking about. No idea what he was talking about. No, that is absolutely brutal. That's headshot after headshot after headshot after headshot. I think that is insane. Like, you can't walk away from that. You cannot walk away from that. Like, you just got absolutely destroyed. And like, his faces are incredible because he's just like, oh man. Like, I hope a lot of Bitcoin This is the John Deaton versus Elizabeth Warren debate right here. Like, you cannot walk yourself into this kind of debate if you're Da Vinci. You cannot do it. You cannot walk yourself into this kind of debate. You stand no chance. No chance. All he was doing was setting himself up for failure. He never had a chance at debating him. He never had a chance to walk out of this. And now he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Firedog, thank you so much for the donation. You are the best. You're incredible. Thank you. But guys, this is the kinds of things that I think are so incredible. They are so educational. You learn about XRP, and what you can see is how much more intelligent the XRP community is than some of these Bitcoin people. It's not even close. They won't entertain most of these debates, and now you can see why it is such a mistake when they do entertain these debates. It's headshot after headshot. Let's keep going.
Okay, I'll give you that one, but I think that we will see Bitcoin actually continue. I still believe that Bitcoin will continue to find ways to improve, whether it's below this level or a combination of below and above. And whilst Bitcoin remains the same, I think we'll see a positive growth in Bitcoin, because we need a system that ensures that the governments and state and any actor can not make changes. And I see I've seen it. I saw that in Ethereum. As soon as I saw Ethereum, I was like, this is going to, there's going to be somebody coming after them and changing it, not because they were on proof of work. Proof of work was not the be all and end all. It was the fact that they were constantly doing updates. They had to do a break-based system, so they always had to update. They had to do a fork every single time. And who's to say specific Ethereum? And maybe in this, when they tried to dump it,
Look at Matt saying, he's like,
please clarify that particular point. If you can maybe it's something different.
Yeah, that's no one's ever had their XRP frozen. You can't freeze XRP. There's not the ability to freeze XRP on the XRP ledger. So the incident you possibly are referring to was one of the original founders, a guy called Jed McCaleb, who sold his XRP for USD, and that was then seized on an exchange, right? Had he have kept his funds in XRP, there would have been no way to have seized it, right? Bar going after him with a large spanner, right? Which is the same attack you can do on Bitcoiners. So no, XRP can't be frozen. There isn't any facility or ability to freeze XRP on the XRP ledger.
So only it says here at the gateways, right? That you can freeze it.
So gateways are kind of analogous to exchanges. So gateways so the XRP ledger, like I said, was the first network that allowed tokenization, right? So you can tokenize some other asset, Bitcoin, Ethereum, US dollars, whatever, on the XRP ledger. The XRP ledger was the first to have stable coins with US dollars and the first to have gold and silver represented on a network, right? And if you do that, you need to have a gateway that issues that asset, because that asset is not native to the XRP ledger. It has to exist somewhere else, right? An analogy in Bitcoin is Tether, right? So Tether on the Omni protocol on Bitcoin, for example, right? Tether is issued by a company, and that company can freeze Tether on the Bitcoin network, right? So companies that issue assets on the XRP ledger, they can freeze those assets on the XRP ledger because they issued them. But XRP itself does not have an issuer. Like Bitcoin, it is the native currency of the network. It has no counterparty, right? So because there is no issuer, there's no counterparty, you cannot freeze XRP itself. You can only freeze issued assets. And like I said, you can do exactly the same on Bitcoin. You can do exactly the same on Ethereum with issued assets.
All right, so that clears up the next question, which was there was a balance freeze intended for use to freeze feature, right? The in the Ripples Labs document. So basically, you're saying the tokens are freezable, not the XRP itself.
If you want to improve your podcast engagement, you have to try recording with Riverside. Riverside is an online platform for podcast recording and
issued assets.
Do you guys think Da Vinci will retweet this? Do you think he'll retweet this? I don't think he will. I don't think you can if you're Da Vinci. Like, do you think he'll I don't think you can. There's no way he can retweet this.
And the documentation makes that very clear. It says that XRP cannot be frozen, only issued assets can. So if I issue, Matcoin on XRP ledger and I give you a bunch of Matcoin, I can, if I choose to enable that, a freeze function to freeze that. And the reason for that being is for compliance reasons. Let's say I issue gold on the XRP ledger. I tokenize gold. There is some physical gold that backs that, right? Say there is 1 million grams of gold on the XRP ledger and I have 1 million grams of gold sat in a warehouse. That warehouse gets broken into, that gold gets stolen, right? The physical backing. What do we then do with the gold that's tokenized on the network? right? You don't really want that being sold because there's now no backing to it, right? So in that case, you want to be able to freeze an issued asset such that you can more closely correlate it to what's happening in the real world. And like I said, those functions are also in Bitcoin for issued assets on Omni, and also in Ethereum. Most ERC20 tokens have a similar kind of thing that could be frozen by their issuer. But again, you can't freeze XRP itself.
Why do you have to pay for an account on XRP when no other cryptocurrency charges people to open up an account?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So the XRP ledger is account-based rather than UTXO-based. So Bitcoin is a triple entry momentum accounting system. It uses a UTXO model. So it doesn't have an account balance, it has the receipts. So the analogy is, if you ask me how much how much money I have in my wallet, I can tell you how much money I have in my wallet by counting the notes and telling you. That's the way an account-based model like the XRP ledger works. Bitcoin instead has a triple entry system. So the analogy is, rather than counting the notes, you count the receipts, right? So you say, okay, in Bitcoin, I had $100, or let's say I start with zero. I had zero. I have a receipt here for withdrawal from my bank account from $100. I have a receipt for a spend of $50. Hence, I know I have $50 left in my account. So there's two different mechanisms for dealing with recording the balances. Now, the XRP ledger has an account system, and in order to prevent spam for those accounts, you have to put down basically a deposit to open that account, because there's an overhead, right? The XRP ledger keeps track of those balances in every single block going forward, right? So each block, known slightly confusingly, also known as a ledger on the XRP ledger. So each ledger contains the complete state of the network, not just the latest receipts, right? So if you want to calculate what my current balance is on XRP, you just look at the current block. If you want to look at the balance for my account on Bitcoin, I have to kind of look back through all of the previous transactions and sum it all up, all the differences, right? So the XRP ledger is storing a little bit more information on every single block, because it's storing the complete state, not just the difference of state for each block. So in that regards, there's a deposit because there is a cost to doing that dollars. And when you close that account, then you get the majority of that back again, right, to you. So you open to users of both.
These are locked permanently, right? So
for the duration of the account being open, you can delete the account and get your XRP back again. If you're no longer using the account, you can delete it and you'll get your XRP back. Yeah.
Okay, I was told that it was gone forever.
No, that's a common misconception.
Makes sense. I have one for you, Da Vinci. What do you think is wrong with XRP?
Well, I think the main thing that XRP is supporting a system of fraud to start off. It is the key thing that all cryptocurrencies, when they came out, is to support the actual individuals and not a banking system. The banking system is a system of fraud that takes money from the individuals in order to ensure that gold stays depressed, right? Start some places in a and with what and so
banks. The reason why XRP, that's a very interesting take. I totally agree with you about banks. I don't like banks. Most of the people within the XRP community don't like banks. The reason why XRP was created was to work against banks, right? The fact that banks are centralized, opaque. The whole point about XRP is it's decentralized. It's a permissionless public ledger. I mean, one of the main reasons that it was created in the first place was one of the creators, David Schwartz, had his account frozen. I can't remember, it was either a bank account or it was his, might have been his eBay account. I can't remember. One of the two was frozen, and he had his funds held back. And that was entirely because I believe there was somebody else with the same name that the bank confused him with and froze his account, right? Now, again, the whole point about XRP is that is not possible, right? So I totally agree with you about banks, but that's not anything to do with XRP. The XRP ledger and XRP itself has nothing to do with banks, right? It operates completely independently of banks. And your kind of characteristic of XRP as a fraud is a little strange again, because fraud is a deception, right? A fraud is a deception or trickery The XRP ledger is a public blockchain. You can see all the transactions on it.
I'm not sure what. I didn't call it a fraud.
You called it right at the start. You called XRP a fraud. So the whole point being is that no, XRP is not a fraud because fraud relies on deception, right? Mm-hmm. And the XRP ledger, there's nothing deceptive there. It's all there. You might not like it, but it's not deceptive.
I agree. I agree that there's it is not deceptive, but it's supporting a fraudulent system.
How is it supporting a fraudulent system? Would you characterize Strike as supporting a fraudulent system because it allows transactions between bank accounts with Bitcoin? Yes. Does that mean Bitcoin's a fraudulent system?
Sorry, Strike?
Yo, come check this out. Look, we just did over 6 figures with this high-ticket e-com store. I'm even going to go into my payouts over here just so.
Yeah, Strike allows 2 people to use Bitcoin or USDT. I think in most cases, I don't even think it uses Bitcoin.
Guys, unfortunately, I have to run. If you want to watch the rest of this stream, I highly suggest you go check out the video. I should be doing this anyway. I can't live stream this guy's entire video. Go check him out, Mr. M Podcast. It's a great thing. I think you guys have watched enough at this point to really understand how brutal it is for him. Guys, thank you so much for coming. You guys are all incredible.